So you're in the process of buying a home and you're getting ready to close escrow. Now as a buyer, you get one last chance to do a final walkthrough before it's actually yours. The question is, should you do a final walkthrough or is it okay just to skip it? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you why I believe you should always do a final walkthrough when buying a home. Hi, my name is Casey and I'm a realtor here in Corona. And on this channel, I share information about the 55 and older communities of Trilogy, Glen Ivy, and the community of Terramor. But I also help buyers and sellers all across Southern California. So if you find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate if you consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons below. Okay, so let's get started. If you've ever purchased a home before, then you already know that you have a right to do a final walkthrough before you actually close escrow. And even though a final walkthrough isn't required, you do have a right to do one. And if you've made it this far through the process, you're probably excited to close escrow and are ready to pick up your keys. So many times buyers will simply decide to skip the final walkthrough. And to be honest, in most cases, things end up working out just fine. But occasionally we do run into problems. And that's why I always recommend that our clients take the time and schedule a final walkthrough. So let me explain why. Now, here in California, our purchase contract clearly states that a buyer has the right to conduct a final walkthrough before the close of escrow. And as you can see here, the standard time frame given in the contract for the walkthrough is within 5 days from the closing date. And this is included in the purchase contract for several reasons. And the first is to verify that the home is still in the same condition as it was when you first viewed it. Remember, when a seller accepts your offer, they also agree to keep the property and the home in the same condition while the home is in escrow. But one of the most common problems we see in this area has to do with the lawn. When you first visit a home, the seller typically has the home looking its very best, especially the yard. The grass is green, it's been freshly cut and edged, and everything has been watered. But once you open escrow, it's easy for a seller to forget about taking care of the yard. Sometimes they cancel their gardening service, or they just get busy and don't have time to do it themselves. Or what's even worse, they stop watering the lawn or the plants altogether. And remember, a typical escrow period here in California is 30 days. And if you don't cut the grass or water the lawn for 30 days, things can get really bad. I've gone back to a home and found the grass over 18 inches high, weeds everywhere, and the lawn and plants completely dead. And if you're the buyer of this home, it can really be disappointing. So if this happens, the agents have to get involved and get together and make sure they've resolved this issue before you can close escrow. Plus, a final walkthrough gives you a chance to confirm there's no new issues or problems since opening escrow. And again, it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. A washing machine or refrigerator can leak and cause water damage. Heavy rain or winds could cause damage to the roof. And if the home is vacant, there's a chance it could be vandalized. So the final walkthrough is just a good opportunity to verify the condition of the property before you finalize everything with the escrow company. And another thing you'll want to do at the final walkthrough is to confirm that any repairs that have been agreed upon have been completed. And as you probably know, you have the opportunity to do a home inspection when you buy a home. And if you find a problem or an issue during the inspection, you can ask the seller to make the repair. And if the seller agrees to make the repair, the final walkthrough is the chance to confirm that these repairs have been completed. And if they're not, your agent can work with the seller's agent to make sure they get completed before you close escrow. You really don't want to wait until after escrow closes to try to resolve these types of issues. Once escrow closes, it's surprising how quickly people disappear. Sellers move away and agents get busy with other deals. So getting something resolved can be very difficult. So if a repair was agreed upon during negotiations, make sure it's been completed when you do your final walkthrough. The reality is you'll have a much better chance of getting the repair completed if the issue is addressed before you close escrow. And here's one last thing you should consider. If the home that you're buying is currently occupied, I always like to do a final walkthrough just to see if the sellers are making progress with packing and preparing to move. And you might be saying, well, why is this important? Well, if you move forward and you close escrow, you really want to be 100% confident that the sellers are going to move out of the property. Now, depending on your contract, the sellers may be required to be completely moved out on the actual day you close escrow, or they may have 3 additional days after the closing date to move out. But either way, most people that are selling a home will be preparing to move if the closing date is just a few days away. And if they're not, it makes me very nervous. And if the occupant in the home is renting and isn't the actual owner, it makes me extremely nervous. And I get nervous because here in California, it's very hard to get someone out of a home if they refuse to leave. Even if you just bought the home and you have all the paperwork from the escrow company saying it's yours, you simply can't force someone out of a home. California gives a lot of rights to renters and even squatters that are refusing to leave a home. And the process to evict someone here takes months. And the reality is, you'll probably need the help of an attorney to navigate the eviction process. Now, thankfully, this doesn't happen very often, but the final walkthrough can be a great opportunity just to make sure the sellers are preparing to leave. And if they're not, it's important to contact the listing agent and get them involved. We want to do everything we can to ensure that the occupants are moving out. And if we see signs that they aren't planning on leaving, I always recommend delaying the closing of escrow until we resolve the problem. And trust me, it's much better to delay the closing date rather than buying a home with a person that refuses to leave. And keep in mind that if for some reason you can't do a final walkthrough, or if you're moving from far away and logistically you simply can't do the final walkthrough, your agent can help out. With today's technology, it's easy to jump on a FaceTime call or a Zoom call with your agent as they walk through the home. Or your agent can simply record a video with their phone as they walk through the home and verify that everything is okay. Skipping the final walkthrough may seem tempting, especially if you're busy with other things or you're just anxious to move in. But you do run the risk of having problems if you skip it. The final walkthrough gives you one final chance to make sure that the home is in the same condition as it was when you first saw it. It also gives you a chance to confirm that any repairs that you've requested have been completed and to make sure that the seller is in the process of moving out. And in my opinion, it's a good way to avoid potential problems, and it will allow you to enjoy your new home as soon as you get the keys.